Did you know how easy it is to transplant perennials, especially the baby ones? I got a couple over here in my perennial bed nursery. This is also where I keep my peppers. And so I have some lavender, and I have some shasta daisies. Shasta daisies are going to take a little bit more work just because there's more of them, but they're in clumps. The lavenders are all, looks like separate plants, so that shouldn't be too hard at all. I'm just going to dig them out. I'm going to keep as much of the soil around them as possible and keep the roots from drying out. And then I'm going to put them over on the other side of my fence here into the no-dig beds that I made last year with squash trellises. So don't be afraid to do it. And the tools that I use, because I don't want to be lugging stuff around and bending over all the time, is I use a very small rake with a long handle that will reach way, way down. And I use also, instead of a giant spade, and because I can take my time that way a little bit more, is I just use a smaller spade, which is about the same size as that rake. And I will dig those out and move them. Other things that I see in this bed that I can move out also without hurting it at all. I see little volunteer comfreys. There's something by that white piece of paper there. There's one over here. And there's one over there. Because they come from this plant over here. This main plant I planted here that the chickens love to eat and get minerals from in between the chicken run and the pepper tunnel. So I can move those. There's another one over there by the patio block, the paver, and then there's one in the very back there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 comfrey plants I can move. All of these clumps of shasta daisies can be moved. The lavender can be moved, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, looks like 7 plants that I winter sowed last year and planted in the spring of this past year, and they've been growing. And then I have one more, I think it's a balloon flower, I forgot what it's called, but I gotta dig that one out. After that, you can see there's creeping Charlie everywhere, which, yes, the bees love them for those purple flowers, especially early spring like this, but it's terrible, terrible, terrible for my garden. So I will use a long claw rake first to try to get them out after all the perennials are out. And then I will take some vinegar, 30% vinegar that you can get at any big box store, 30% vinegar, put it in a pump sprayer on a sunny day, like today. Actually, I have some in here. Maybe when I'm done, I'll do that. On a sunny, sunny day, you put the 30% vinegar, and it will kill off the green leaves for the plants. And the plants need the green leaves in order to photosynthesize to continue to grow. But I don't want them growing in this area. And I also need to get to the edges here and get anything else that might try to creep its way in. Creep, 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 creep. Got to get all that out of there. But first, I want to save my perennials. So, try it. Go out and look and see if you've got any volunteer perennials that you can move. Find places for them. And then when I plant them, I'm going to water them in really well. It's supposed to rain tonight. It's supposed to be cool and rainy like the rest of the week. Well, warmish and rainy. But nature will take care of that for me. So, like I said, don't be afraid to transplant. It's good for you. It's good for them. They can't stay here. They can't stay here. So they're going to go. Use caution when you are transplanting or potting things up to give away to others, that you don't include some invasive things. So I can see there's little bits of that dumb creeping Charlie in there. I don't want them in this bed too. They'll probably end up making their way over, but I don't want to encourage it. So I'm going to take them out, as many as I can find. I might have to go all the way down to the roots and pull them all out and disentangle them from the lavender. I'll take a look and see. I hope I don't have to, but I don't want that creeping Charlie in with these transplants. So when you move your plants, just kind of double check to avoid the headache later on of having to deal with them. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do with those lavender that I pulled out of my perennial nursery. Let me show you what it looks like first. Oops, they're way over here. Okay, this is the no dig garden that I made last year with cardboard, wood chips, and compost, just where I was going to plant them. These are the lavender I pulled out. I think there's actually about 9 plants in there too. So in this garden, I currently have baby peach tree volunteers. There's 4. There's 1 there, 2, 3, and 4. And I want to train them and prune them to be like a spalier. So I want them to grow, I don't want them growing against the fence. I want them to go flat up and out this way, actually. So we have a maintenance pathway and a harvesting pathway to get to the peaches that will be just so delicious. So in front of them, but leaving pathways in between the trees, is where I'm going to put lavender and like over on the sides. And these are actually going to draw in pollinators as well because it's very fragrant, and keep out the deer who don't like smelly things. So I'm going to put lavender over there for sure at the end. I'll probably put 3 plants over there, and I'll put a couple over here, and then maybe 1 or 2 where this grouping of other plants were that I had put in last year. So we'll have like a fruit tree guild, which is where you've got the tree, you've got some ground cover, you've got some small shrubs, some herbs. So it draws in the good pollinators and bugs, and it keeps out the bad bugs. That's what we're hoping for. And then the other option I have, because I also have daisies, Shasta daisies. I could put them in here as well. I might put a couple plants in there too, just for looks, just for aesthetics. Because they're flat flower, so they do keep the hoverflies coming over, which are good to keep out like aphids. But I also have all of this area over here I could do. Most of this in here, besides the chives, which are smelly, most of these were cut garden. I had my zinnias in there, and Cosmo, and some sunflower, and herbs. I was also growing eucalyptus in here too. But I could put daisies in here just fine, because in the spring, the tree doesn't really have any leaves. This red maple does not have any leaves. Or not red maple, I think it's called a sunset maple because it turns red. So the Shasta daisies will have a chance to grow up. They'll have lots of sunshine to get enough leaves to grow. And then by the time the leaves come in on this tree, the sun, which that's south, direct south, the sun, instead of this arc here, will actually have an arc that's going up and down. So the sun will be in this main corridor in this middle here. So I have room there, and I have lots of room over by the serviceberry shrubs as well. I could put lavender and daisies out there too, just for fun. But there was one thing I want to caution you about too. So many people are teaching that when you're going to flip your garden, you cut your old plants off at the roots and let the roots stay inside. And I'm just going to tell you that there's a big caution when it comes to sunflowers. I was doing that as well. I was cutting them down like this and just leaving the roots inside. So if I do that, the sunflower roots actually have one of those compounds like a black walnut tree does that inhibits other things from growing around it. So if I do that, then anything I try to plant inside of there, even if the stems are, decomposing, may not grow as well. So I will come back. I had to do that over there where I had sunflowers before, but I will come back with a large shovel, and I'm actually going to dig those roots out. Those were sunflowers, and I have some over here. I'm going to dig those out as well. That also, I'm not going to put anything in there in its place, but that also will keep the pathway free in the back, which was my goal to begin with. So things go in stages. So first I make my bed, and I put stuff on there, and I let the decomposition work, and I would put piles of compost and either put starter plants in there, plants that already were seedlings, or put seeds in there while they grew, the composting from rain and weather and stuff. Wash, and I had like a trap crop of pumpkin, volunteer pumpkin over here, which the squash bugs loved over here. They went to town on, and then they avoided the ones that are on the other side of the fence over here for a long, long time. And so I let annuals grow up. I had some melons growing up here. I definitely had sunflowers. And then in the fall, when I took out the annuals and the vines and things like that, that's when I found the volunteer peach trees over in our compost pile, way over on the other side. So I dug those out, put them in a basket like the lavender, and then put them in here to grow. I hate to leave things to die or to just pull them out and kill them. So anyway, that's what I wanted to tell you about, is don't leave sunflower roots inside. So once you cut them down, then dig them out, and you can put them to the side, that's fine. And if there's critters or whatever, they'll be fine inside the stems, but don't leave them in the soil and then try and plant. So now the peach tree, you can see there's lots of little leaves all along here, little branches that want to grow. So I'll probably have to take care of those, and I may have to cut off about 18 inches up. I might have to cut the tree off at about 18 inches. And then what that will do is it will force more branches to go out sideways. And I will probably also need to cut branches that are facing the fence so that I can keep it this way. Keep it this way. Again, this is the south side here. They're going to get lots of sun this way throughout the whole growing season. But I don't want them to grow into the fence and either damage the fence or make it hard for us to, ooh, I just jumped, it's a pinwheel, or make it hard for us to harvest the peaches when they come in. So, yeah, so there's that. Now, when you're out and about too in your gardens, start looking around to see what actually is growing. So we have farm fields all around us, and those are some, where is it? Here's my finger. There it is. Okay. So this is some cover crop that they grow on the farms all the time, and then they just plow it under. So I get this in my garden all the time. But a lot of times what I'll do is I'll either pull it out and just throw it on the grass, or I'll give it to the flock because they love to eat it. Something else. Let's see. This. There you go. That is wild raspberry. It goes everywhere. It's very nasty. I did cut the cane down here, but I do need to come back and dig out this and then cut down, or like dig underneath and take that out and throw it away, or it's going to keep coming back. I can see I have some over here as well. Right there in the middle of that dandelion. So I'm gonna have to take care of that before it becomes a problem. I have some canes over here, and that was because I had canes on the other side of the fence, and they just went to town. They were very happy to be wild raspberries. I don't want them there. They're a nuisance, and they're pokey, and they hurt, and I don't like them. I don't like any plants that hurt me. I do have some other things growing here. This is actually reseeded from the bed that I have at the birch tree over on the other side of the fence. That's coming through. I'm going to let that be. That's a dandelion. I can pull them, and I can pull the leaves. Some people eat the leaves. I like to give them to the flock. They really like the leaves. And what else? And another crop of wild raspberries. And then some people say, well, Tam, why don't you just let the wild raspberries go? I have raspberries that are thornless. Yes, they're hybrids, but they're thornless, and they're also a lot bigger and tastier than these. Wild raspberries are great for the birds, so they're great for like a wildlife hedge, but they're also pokey, and again, I don't like them. So if they're pokey and I'm not going to get much from them, I don't want to keep them in my yard. There's no reason for that. And then over there I've got some grasses I can pull out, but you can see the cardboard has kept most of the weeds out altogether. And let's see if I can dig down and show you what it looks like now. That was a compost pile that I made. Over there, that dark spot was a compost pile. And again, what I wanted to do is like enrich the soil where I was starting seeds so that the plants would grow really well. So let's look down here. I'm going through. There's just a little bit of cardboard left. Actually, that piece is plastic that I had not taken off. Underneath, the soil is very nice. I have kind of like sandy loam. Apparently this all used to be an old orchard. So I'm very, very thankful and fortunate to have that. But you can see cardboard itself, it's gone. And that's great. And it kept all the weeds out between the cardboard and the wood chips that we got for free from chip mulch. It's done a great job keeping this bed nearly weed free and without digging. I didn't till, I didn't silage tarp or anything like that. I was thinking about maybe going all the way down or almost all the way down, keeping a pathway so we can get in and out over there, but I'm not quite sure yet. We'll see how it goes. I might do that later, like maybe in the fall, but we'll see. So that's that. I'm going to put my lavender in and then water them in and then go back and get the daisies. So transplant now if you can. It's a great time. Well, that was super satisfying. Let me show you what I did. Here are four smaller lavender. There's one of the larger ones there, another one there, another one there, another one there, and then there's a smaller one just around the corner. Again, there's enough space so I can walk behind. I moved the squash trellises out. I could put more perennials in here. I'm just not sure because then the bunnies can get to them. The deer could get to them. Again, deer don't like smelly things, so the lavender is going to be a good thing to have. And it might throw bunnies off the scent a little bit. I can tell right here something has been bedding down like in this area at night, because one, there's poop right there, but the grass is all dead and it's been raining, so all the other grass is doing really, really well. So something was underneath one of these trellises hiding out at night. When I plant perennials, any kind of perennials, the first planting, I almost always make a saucer shape, like a crater, a small, slight crater of soil around the plant, or else I'll make a berm around the plant, and that way rain, when it falls, will actually get caught in there and go to the roots where I want them to be. I don't make it really deep because I don't want the rain to continually do that, but what will happen over time is the walls of the berms will eventually wear down a little bit, but by the time they wear down, the roots will already be established. So you can tell these are already starting to grow. You can see actually green going on. There's little bits of green, lots of green down at the bottoms. So it was time for these to be transplanted for sure. And then the other part is, because this is slightly sloping downward, when I plant perennials, I plant any gardens, I almost always am going to look at the slope of the land, the lay of the land. So my driveway is higher up here by where the trailer is, and it slopes downward as it's supposed to, and away from the house, and it slopes slightly this way. So when I make my berms, or I make these little wells or craters, I make sure that the lower, and this sounds so obvious, but not everybody gets it, but the lower part of the slope, it has a higher wall. And again, that's to capture rain. So if the rain is pounding down and it's coming down this way, it stops at each plant. It slows down just a little bit, enough so that it doesn't just wash away and the plants don't benefit from it. I will go get I think I'm going to get the daisies. I might have to do that another day, but it's a good day to do it. But the final thing I'll do, whether I put the daisies in here or not, or over here today or not, the final thing I'll do is I will cover up with the mulch that's here whatever soil I see, because Mother Nature hates blank, empty spaces. She wants to fill it any way she can, from flying in seeds, from things that the birds drop off, or whatever. But she wants to grow anything in bare patches. So I will rake around and make sure that all of this bare soil is covered up at least an inch or so. I like to pick up trash as I'm going. I don't like to do like a trash day. I like to do it as I'm doing it. So like if I see a bunch of weeds, like I'll weed around the area, and then I'll put the plants in at the same time, because again, Mother Nature hates a bare spot. I don't want to pre-weed everything, and then by the time I go back and plant, then the weeds have grown back, and I still have to do it again. I like to do it all at one time when I'm there at the spot, and what I see I like to take care of. So I already did take out all of the sunflowers. They're in a pile over here. I got to pick up before my husband mows the lawn. And I got out the raspberries, wild raspberries too. I have lots of mulch I can use over here and help to spread it. And then I might come back and water these in. But here's the thing. So the reason I might not even water these lavender in is because, remember I told you I was picking up trash as I was going. The reason I might not do it is because this soil that they came from is pretty dry. It's cool, but it's pretty dry. There's not a lot of moisture in there. And when I moved chips away and dug into the soil under there was wetter, was damper than this. So if I come back and water, that's only because I would have decided that I needed to settle the soil in. But otherwise, it's supposed to rain tonight, and I might just let the rain actually come down on the plants themselves. But I'm telling you, this is going to look so nice with peach trees and lavender and some daisies, and then the other flowers that I planted that I can't remember what they are, but they're perennials. Another thing that I do when I'm out here is I am looking for critter damage and critter evidence. So I did see something going on over here, but I think without this squash trellis, it's not going to come back there. Another thing I'm looking for is plant damage from the winter. So I kind of look at this one, and I see dead leaves, but if I pull gently on it, it's not coming out. And I see dead stems at the top. I'm going to let that be for at least another couple weeks. At least for another couple weeks, especially because the rains are coming. And this one plant that I can't remember the name of might need more water before, oh yeah, this soil is really moist. But it might need more water before it actually starts waking up again. So I don't want to disturb it and just give up on it. Let's see, what else? There was a couple others. That one's going to be fine. I'm not even going to bother with the mulch right now. I'm going to wait till I see a little bit of green around it and it gets a little warmer. And then I'll start pulling the mulch away from the middle. But right now, it's happy. I'm leaving it. This one over here. See, and the reason I say that is, look at this one. You can see there's some green leaves right here coming up again, rejuvenating. So this is waking up. But if I take these down right now, I'll forget I planted them there. And I will either step on it, or my husband will step on it, or someone else will step on it and not do good things for it. When I look at this perennial, I can kind of see there's edges here of the root ball right around here. Let's see if I can go in the back. Let's see it better over here. So you can see you can see where it came out of the pot. So I probably could use some more soil around there. But again, I'm going to not give up on this. Not quite yet. Because it's not coming out of the ground. I'm going to wait on that to give up on it. But just to increase its chances of survival, I'll pull the mulch back on this one, just this one. I'll grab some of this soil, all the soil up here so it's level with the plant. Stands a chance. So if there's any roots here that are in jeopardy, they're going to be covered by soil and it will stand a chance. Because guys, it really is still kind of early. But it's a great time to take care of your perennials. Anyway, something to think about in high traffic areas is if you have pathways, like maintenance pathways, make sure that the plants that you're planting at the edges are short. So lavender, I like lavender. It's not rude. It grows wide. It can grow just a couple feet tall. It's not so huge that it's overwhelming. And it basically stays where you put it. It doesn't spread. I gave it plenty of room. Each plant will probably grow out to the middle here. And they're going to be happy. And they're going to fill in. They're going to touch that plant. They're going to come out to here. And they'll be pretty happy. But if I'm planning to walk over it to take care of the peaches or to do weeding or anything else like that, I want to make sure I can actually make it over the top of the plant. So that's something to think about as you're planting. I do have other access areas. I made sure from the front I do have some access, so I could walk right in. The downside of that is that means that a deer could walk in there as well, or any other four-legged creature that wants to just help themselves. I mean, they can anyway, but it would just make it a little easier. So this is why I do the pinwheels. Still, I have the pinwheels to try to make a movement in the evening when the wind is blowing, because that's when they like to come out usually. I also do have motion lights, which will come on when there's motion out here, when something's walking around, a cat, a rabbit, whatever it might be. And then this is kind of be silly, I know, but that's okay. I'm alright with that. Another thing I do, not always, I will have pretend snakes around. Bunnies do not like snakes, and if they think there's a snake in the area, they do not like them. And they will be scared off a little bit. So between the moving, shiny things at night, the lavender, and the snake, and that it's wide open now. So the good thing about some four-legged creatures getting in the middles is that the bunnies don't have anywhere to hide. So if there's a fox, or a coyote, or God forbid a wolf, I don't think there's wolves, but fox or coyote or anything else that's going to eat bunnies, it should be a pretty easy way to get them, and they can't hide in this area, which is fine. And then as I was looking, I'll come back down here, and I'm going to end up downloading these videos and putting them in a single video through on the YouTube. But as I'm looking at the trees, the peach trees, this is south, that's north, and the wind blows from the south pretty strong. It also blows from the west, so that's west, this is east. It blows from the west pretty strong. So this guy here, he's looking pretty happy. There's space here. He's not leaning or anything. That next one is doing okay. Let's walk down here carefully without stepping on plants. Nope, no plants to step on, just weeds. He's doing okay. So I don't think I have to do that, anything with that. Or I should say she, because it's a fruit tree, but anyway. This one, not so sure. So what I will probably do, it's just starting to leaf out now. What I'll probably do is I'm going to come back and rake away the mulch and take a shovel and slice in, push it forward, because I don't necessarily want to stake it. I want the wind to be able to blow it because they develop stronger roots that way. And peach tree branches are already pretty fragile. I don't know. I just don't want to. I don't want to stake it and have it dependent on that. But I could, like I said, I'll pull the mulch back, put a spade in, probably out as far as this furthest branches, so probably out here. Lift the soil a little bit and maybe be able to move it forward, and then pack some soil behind it, just so it's not leaning as much. Because I know when I walk by it, I'm like touching it and things. And I know I'm going to take that one off, and probably this one off anyway. And just like leave outside branches to go out this way. Not this way, that way, like that. But because the south wind gets so strong, I'm concerned that, you know, once the trunk is like this thick, it's going to be leaning so far that it's going to end up banging that. And then this one, let's see how it's going. I got to walk around it here. This one's actually leaning a little more to the east side, which is okay, because again, those west winds are pretty strong. So over time, it may end up going this way a little bit more, and that's okay. So I think that's the last pruning or moving of plants to do in this area. This is so fun. And again, this was a no-dig garden. No dig. Covered with cardboard, held down with, now they're weathered 2x4s, piled with mulch, And when I was ready to plant seeds or seedlings, I raked the mulch away. I did a big mound of, like, I think it was like a half bag each time of compost or manure right there. Put the seeds in or put the seedlings in and patted it down, and then pulled the mulch back over the compost just so it wouldn't fall off from the rains. And now this year it is ready to plant in. The grass died back and gave some fertilization, some nutrients to the soil underneath. The weeds pressure is almost none, and I get to plant, and I'm so excited. All right, so I'll dump the soil and decide if I'm going to pull up the daisies yet. And I'm hemming and hawing about the daisies because I know things like to eat them. And I hate to put things out here that's like vulnerable to the deer. They're not deer resistant. On the other hand, if the daisies had to be eaten before the peach tree leaves, that would be a good trade-off. That could work fine. The daisies are going to be these peach trees. They've got the sunshine from the south, and eventually, again, the sun's going to be pointing straight down, and then in the fall, it's going to be coming this way again. So they got plenty of sun, and they're tall enough. At least those three are tall enough that daisies aren't going to affect its sunshine. I'm just trying to decide whether I'm going to put them in there or not. One thing I always talk about is plant trees with friends. Do not plant trees by themselves. They like company. So when I moved these peach trees from the compost pile where they volunteered over to here, I put friends in with them. They should not be alone. The roots end up interchanging with each other, and so like if, let's say, the lavender's got more water and the peach tree needs it, those roots can like be out that way and get the moisture. Same with minerals and stuff in the soil. So if the peach tree needs something of more of a mineral of some sort, and the lavender's got it, or this perennial's got it, it can actually, with its roots, it can transfer it to it. It also slows down the rainfall, keeps the rain where you want it to be to help the tree. It shades the roots of the trees as well, which keeps weeds down and keeps the roots cool. But never plant them alone. Never plant trees by themselves. And I can still add, because let's see, when you work with a tree, you always got to think about even if it's a fruit tree, you think about the outermost branches, the tips of the branches, and then that's how you calculate how wide the root ball is, or how wide the roots are. So I could continue to put, friends around it as long as I'm not up in the root ball of the tree. So especially as young trees, I want to add as many things as I can. I could probably add like parsley and I don't know. Oh, I've got chives over there. I could grab some chives because they're smelly. Put them over here, and kind of keep some critters away from the beautiful delicacy of the peach tree leaves. So this is a work in progress, and this is my garden. So I always experiment in my garden, almost always experiment in my garden before I go planting other people's gardens, because I want to make sure that you actually have success. So if you're looking at this going, oh my gosh, this is not good, dude, don't worry about it. It'll be fine for me, and I'm going to learn lots of lessons and things like that, and I'm going to show you what works and what doesn't work, and hopefully, let's see, in the summertime, this perennial should be all bushy and flowering and attracting pollinators and attracting good bugs that take care of the bad bugs, because we want that. But that's all I got. So I did add comfrey, those comfreys that I got from my pepper tunnel, to the garden, and I also added the daisies. And I covered them with these cheap waste baskets from the Dollar Tree. And then they just have little stakes that they are secured with from the wind. But look at how happy. They're much happier here than they were over there. Let's see how they grow. It's going to be so fun.